Well, hello everybody. Happy Tuesday. Today, what we're going to learn about is the next part of our anatomy of a quadratic function. And today I'm going to show you what the discriminant is and how to use the discriminant in your quadratic function. Okay, so all of you should have this sheet. I posted it to Google Classroom yesterday, and I encourage you to either print this out or have this readily available when you do your assessment on Friday, because there is nothing on this sheet that is not going to be on your assessment Friday. So that's why I made this for you, so you could have a handy dandy reference. So please make sure you have this available on Friday. So what we already know is what standard form is. We know how to find our axis of symmetry and our vertex. And we're learning more about finding the zeros of the function or the roots. And what we're going to do today is find the discriminant. And the discriminant is a portion of the quadratic formula. It's the number underneath the radical, b squared minus 4ac. And the reason we have the discriminant is it helps us to determine how many solutions there are to a quadratic function. So if you look down below here with me, what I have written in blue is if b squared minus 4ac is positive, then the equation has two solutions. So if you look down below at the graph, the blue writing matches the blue graph. So if you look at both of those, what you see then is where this graph crosses my my x-axis, it touches twice. So that's what I mean by it has two solutions. It's going to touch my x-axis in two different places. If you look at the brown writing, it says if b squared minus 4ac is 0, then the equation has one solution. So again, if you look at the brown graph, it crosses my x-axis one time. There's one point on that graph that touches my x-axis. And if you were to look at the orange writing, and it says if b squared minus 4ac is negative, then the equation has no real solution. So if you look at the orange graph, you see that that graph does not touch your x-axis at all. So there is no solution, or there is no axis to that function. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'll show you how we use this. And here we are. The problem is to find the discriminant and number of solutions. So if I were to write the quadratic function x squared, and you should write this with me at home for an example. So I have x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. If I'm going to find my discriminant is going to be b squared minus 4ac. So I'm just going to simply look at this quadratic function, pull out my terms, plug them into this formula, and find my discriminant. So my b term is negative 3. So I have negative 3 squared minus 4. My a term is going to be 1. And then my c is negative 4. So as I continue to do my math, negative 3 squared is going to be 9. Minus, so 4 times 1 is 4, and then 4 times a negative 4 is a negative 16. So two negatives make a positive, or a minus makes a positive. So that becomes 9 plus 16, which equals 25. Okay? Now, if I refer back to my rules, if b squared minus 4ac is positive, then the equation has two solutions. So what I need to look at here is my discriminant answer. It's 25. 25 is a positive number, so there are two solutions. All right, there are two solutions to this quadratic equation. That tells me that if I were to graph this, that this parabola is going to cross my x-axis in two places. And if I come over here to Desmos, I went ahead and graphed it for you. And as you can see, my graph crosses here, and it crosses the x-axis here. So there are my solutions to the function. All right, so that is our first example. All right, so let's go back here, and I'm going to write another one after I erase all of this. Okay then, so the next one is going to be negative x squared plus 2x minus 1 equals 0. So same thing, I take the formula b squared minus 4ac. So my b value here is 2. So I'm going to have 2 squared minus 4. So a is going to be a negative 1 since it's a negative x, times c, which is also a negative 1. So 2 squared is going to be 4. Minus, so 4 times a negative 1 is a negative 4. And then negative 4 times a negative 1 becomes a positive 4. So I have 4 minus 4, and that equals 0. So if I come back over here to my anatomy of a quadratic function, if b squared minus 4ac is 0, then the equation has one solution. So if I go back to my Canvas page here, this is going to be one solution. Because it equals 0. And then if I look back here at my graph of it on Desmos, you can see that this parabola touches my x-axis in one place, which is right here at the vertex. So it has one solution. All right, so let's go to our final example. All right, so for my final example, I'm going to have 2x squared minus 2x plus 3 equals 0. All right, so same thing. My discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So I'm simply going to plug the numbers into this formula. So my b value is a negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 squared minus 4. My a value is 2. And then my c value is going to be 3. So then negative 2 squared is going to be a positive 4. Minus, so 4 times 2 is 8, and then 8 times 3 is 24. So 4 minus 24 equals a negative 20. So now, if I go back to my sheet here, if b squared minus 4ac is negative, then the equation has no real solution. So if I go back over here, I have a negative 20, so that is no real solution. Now we'll look at here on Desmos. And that's what the graph of 2x squared minus 2x plus 3 looks like on Desmos. And as you can see, it does not cross your x-axis. So that is basically what the discriminant tells you. There are some practice problems for you to do today that is just simply computing the discriminant. Tomorrow we will get into an application of where you would actually use the discriminant. But that's all that I've got for you today. So what I'd like for you to do is to start those practice problems, and you know the procedure for turning them in. And if you have any further questions, you can meet me on Google Meet. Have a great day, everybody.